what was the most encouraging signs for you during this series?
Yeah, there were a lot, weren't there?
There definitely was.
I'm curious what you guys are thinking, and of course, 713-572-4610 on the text line.
Do you have the text line up?
I do have the text line up.
Okay, good.
I do have. I'll give you my password in a little bit. But anyway, look, I think to me it wasn't necessarily an individual, and there were some individuals, including one that we talked about Friday. You know, who would you like to really, I forget how we put it exactly, you know, to really get going?
The Magic Pixie Ducks or whatever on one of these players to get them going.
And one of the names that I mentioned was Yainer Diaz, and sure enough, Yainer was terrific. Still needs to work on his defense. There were a couple of moments here and there, but nevertheless, to me it was collective. To me it was like, when I watched, obviously Friday night was just a blowout, as you mentioned. Saturday, it looked like a team that was kind of lost again. You know, they had destroyed that pitcher in several, really for his career in the Major League. Anderson, they just killed him. And they're throwing a lefty against these Astros. And you're thinking, oh, okay, they're going to get a little run here because they just, they kill lefties and all that. I think they had, and I'm generalizing here, but I want to say they talked about it on the broadcast, 27 hits, 27 runs in like 18 innings or something against him. And then that guy has a no-hitter going into the sixth inning.
Yeah.
I mean, it was incredible. So to me, that looked like a team that had sort of like, they're lost again. They had a good night last night. They left all their runs and hits, on Friday. But then they come back yesterday. And to me, it was that resilience. It was that familiar bounce-back game in Moss, that they showed.
Well, what was that?
On Moss.
Like you had to do it like that, huh?
On Moss.
All right.
That's how you say it.
Okay.
They showed.
I was like, I could do this, but it's not. Everybody knows what I heard. Like, y'all heard it, right? you heard it, right? Like, I just want to make sure that I'm not alone. Figgy, did you hear it?
What did I say?
Not really.
Okay, that's fine.
What was it? Can you repeat it?
On Moss.
Keep going. Just unnecessary.
That they showed. You'll tell me in the break. The coming back yesterday. That was a sign of something the old Astros did, and to me, that was the most encouraging thing. They're showing a little something collective.
Yeah, it was nice to see them bring it back around on Sunday, yesterday, because you got 14 runs on 16 hits. Like, it felt like all these things are coming together. You put up cricket numbers a few times during that game, and then boom, you get Saturday, and as you mentioned, right, 6 no-hit innings, and you're just like, oh, okay, so was that just the instance where it all clicked for a day, and then you're back to this issue? But yeah, it was nice to see largely everybody do some level of something, because we did talk about it in a way that, one guy getting out of it, and I really kind of resigned myself to the idea that maybe certain people will come around in stages and waves. It was nice to see, like, okay, breaking through at a time period. So that was nice. Can we give a shout out to Ryan Gusto?
Yes.
Who pitched incredibly well on Saturday, although he ends up catching an L in that game. He's going to be important, I think, for this time period, right? Like, he comes in as a glorified opener, but you get 4 innings out of him, which is a lot for a dude who was just, a long reliever out of the pen, immediately thrust into a situation where he has to start. Because you don't have Spencer Arrighetti due to the freak accident that happens when he's playing catch in the outfield. You don't necessarily have a great option immediately available until you can get some reinforcements in, and it seems like the reinforcements might get here, the start of next month, maybe. But Brian Gusto pitched well enough to a place where I'm like, I feel like you can see this out to a point where and we knew that he was pitching very well. Like, he had been pitching fairly well for the situation that you had him in to start the season. But it's a different circumstance starting out the game and having an opportunity
in that environment,
an opportunity for multiple times around the order for guys to see you. And he handled it fairly well. 3 earned runs, but 6 strikeouts. And I think that I feel comfortable with the idea that maybe he'll be able to be there the next time you go through the lineup, or the order rather. Or the rotation is the word I was looking for. Next time you go through the rotation, I feel comfortable having Gusto there and getting yourself to a place where hopefully Lance McCullers Jr. comes and takes over for him, and now you're off to the races once again.
And it extends 10 strikeouts. that was another stellar effort, from someone that you had to a starting pitcher you had to wonder about. And even though he looked good, you still sort of like, okay, let's see what he's got. He throws 10 strikeouts out there. That was a great sign. That's why collectively, because Paredes as well.
There it is. That's the one I eventually wanted to get to for sure.
I mean, the Crawford boxes are his friend. And we wondered about that, and certainly all the advanced numbers say that's what was going to be good for home runs in 3 straight games. I mean,
yes.
that's big time too. So you're getting the collective all of a sudden.
Yeah, he leads the team in OPS now, right? He's jumped up into the mid 800s if memory serves, and that's absolutely necessary for the spot that he occupies in the order, right? It's Altuve and him as the best OPSs on the team as of right now, and that's huge that you have these guys doing that. I think also one of the things that's really interesting, Chandler Rome put together a cool piece breaking down this Angels series rather by the numbers, and one of the things that you can, or actually not even just the series, the first 15 games of the season by the numbers, and one of them that really caught my attention is the 10-plus pitches per at-bat that this team is seeing. Like, they are working pitchers, and especially if the bats are going to start showing up in the way that they did in this series, and obviously in the way that we had expected them to, you add that with the fact that they're making pitchers work in addition to getting hits, getting extra base hits. Now you're really cooking with grease. Like, you have an opportunity to do something special because you're gonna wear out pitchers, and then if you then lets off some of the pressure that had been put on your starting pitchers, on your relievers, even on your defense as well.
No, for sure. And you mentioned Gusto, and you mentioned the Lance McCullers. He doesn't have to be. All he has to do is get us into the next month, because shout out to Lance McCullers Jr. and getting it done. This is a team where if you get those great at bats and you get into their bullpen, all of a sudden your bullpen gets, or your pitching staff gets fortified if McCullers gets up here. And so all of a sudden you're looking a little better.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so are you seeing any others from the text line that folks want to shout out when it comes to the encouraging signs on this, after this Angel series?
Well, I am saying what I may have said when I was calling them the Los Angeles Angels.
No, that was me. That was definitely
that
me.
was you?
Yeah, that was definitely me.
No, okay.
Didn't get that G in there in the right time. But you know what? Bleep them. All right, I'm good with that. The Angels, mind you, had been swinging the bats pretty well themselves to this point of the season. So well done to the pitching just in general, keeping that at bay. Yeah,
look, and the other thing is just up and down the lineup. The Astros seem to be getting into a little bit of a groove, and now they got a good test here. Obviously St. Louis starting today. But then they have the Padres coming here, and that's going to be. The Padres are the best team in baseball right now. If you really want to look at it, they're playing some great baseball. So couldn't have come at a better time for them to kind of rechannel the good things that this Astros team has done. Their culture, if you will.
All right. So I mixed up seeing 4 pitches per plate appearance, but it's the 10. I believe it's 10 walks, if memory serves correctly. But they're doing a damn good job at the plate ultimately, and making this really tough on opposing pitchers when it comes to this situation. Shout out to Jeremy Pena as well, right? Obviously, we kind of touched on this with all of the guys finding a little bit of their bats in some ways. Jeremy Pena is hitting line drives at a higher rate than he previously had, which seems to tell me that he's made some adjustments in the way that he's swinging the bat, trying to get the ball in play. It reminds me of the story that's told about Barry Bonds, where as he was approaching Willie Mays' record, one of the things he decided is that he wanted to tie and break it at home. So they were on a road trip. I think they had 5 more games, and he's just decided what he was going to do is change that launch angle and just beam the ball, like just pew pew, lasers across the field with singles, doubles all over the field. Obviously, that's not what Jeremy Pena is doing per se. Because,
maybe.
Look, if you got that in you, if you got that Barry Bonds in you to do it to that degree, please break that one out.
Yeah, the other part of it.
I would appreciate it, right? But no, just the idea of, hey, and it's kind of contrary to what has become the common perspective in baseball, which is just up a launch angle and try and get this ball in the air. No, man, if that's not been working for you, get a lower launch angle and just spray the ball around the field and see if we can get on the bases, especially because he's been taking bags this year as well, right? So yeah, man, I love that about what he's been doing. That's really encouraging as well. That seems like Centron gets a lot of hate, but it does feel like, hey man, if this team is going to have an approach individualized in that way to where we're going to maximize what these players do, I think you give yourself an opportunity to do good things, do some damage when you get up to the plate.
And what if Jake Myers is sustainable, what he's doing? Because, Jake Myers, seems to be doing.
How long do we have to go for us
I don't
to
know.
really
That's what I'm
feel
asking.
that? Yeah.
I don't expect it to happen. I expect water to find its level here. But continuing to just, sort of be. Now, he's no longer the second leading hitter on the team, thankfully, because Paredes is now there. And as you mentioned, 831 OPS and all that. He seems to be grooving. But Myers just continues to, 12 total bases doesn't sound like a whole lot, but seems to be getting on base, 5 stolen bases as well. Just sort of doing the things that you want your center fielder to do.
Yeah, and I think that's also been deeply encouraging, because if he could find a way to, at the plate, be manageable, be passable, like, he is absolutely one of the things that keeps your outfield tenable, right? It's the larger conversations that we had. It was the reasons that were given as to why, you could feel good about Jose Altuve in left, why you could feel good about putting a rookie who did not have any time in right, is because you have a center fielder that can cover more ground and that honestly has the experience to maybe be a little bit of a field general of sorts. I know not used in those terms, but I think you get what I'm trying to say there. It makes it a lot easier if he can stay on the field because his bat is working.
And last thing, we are in the place now. Are we all in agreement? You just kill him. Keep putting him out there. We had this discussion last week, and it wasn't like we thought this, but it was a question. Was it a mistake, so to speak? But we were both. I think we both landed on the spot of no. Just keep putting him out there. I don't know how much you believed in that, per se. But it was a spot where keep putting him out there, and then he comes back and responds and seems to be doing. It seems to be about where you want him to be at this point in the season.
Yeah, especially when you can occupy him in your 8-9 hole in your lineups. Like, give him an opportunity to continue.
A couple
to
nice catches in the outfield too.
That's probably the more encouraging thing, because that's a tough place, right? To jump into a position that you have not played, and at times he looked green. You're seeing that ripening kind of happening for him as well. All right.